Hello, everybody, and welcome to the session on implementing childcare with IFC. My name is Lina Al Kadumi, and I am the Gender Equality Manager at UN Global Compact. It is my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today, Ms. Anita Gorjal from IFC and Mr. Uh, Mohammed Zahidallah, Mr. Zahid from DBL Group. Anita Gorjal has been an early childhood and private sector specialist with the International Financial Corporation's Gender and Economic Inclusion team since 2019. At IFC, Anita co-leads the new Care to Equal project focused on childcare, elderly care, and mental health and well-being, following the recently concluded Global Tackling Childcare project. Anita joined the World Bank Group in 2014, working in pre-primary basic and technical education in Africa and Europe. Prior to joining the bank, Anita worked in the private sector for 8 years, where she led the Regional Corporate Social Responsibility Department for Odebrecht Engineering and Construction, a multi-billion-dollar multinational. She has also worked with the Brazilian government, UNDP, and UNICEF, and for nonprofits in the US. Anita studied for international development and economics at the Johns Hopkins School of International Studies and international education policy at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Moving on to Mr. Zahid, he is the Chief Sustainability Officer at DBL Group. And through a wide range of programs aimed at the improvement of lives of workers and the local communities and reducing the impact on the environment, Zahid regularly works with a broad range of stakeholders, including UN agencies. He is currently managing several sustainability projects, including the Partnerships for Cleaner Textiles by IFC, Mothers at Work, and Better Business for Children by UNICEF, and Gender Equity and Returns by ILO's Better Work Program, and also the Female Leadership Development Program. Sustainability programs at DBL are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Zahid has 25 years of experience in the apparel, textiles, sporting goods, ceramic tableware, and electronics industries. He conducts all his work with the belief that reward of doing good is nothing but good. So without further ado, I will leave it to you, Anita, to kick off the day.
Thank you so much, Linda. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for joining us. So, I usually like to start talking about employer supported childcare, but focusing on the why. Because you can come at it from a series of perspectives. You can come at it from the child perspective, where you can get good development outcomes if the care that's provided is of good quality, or from the women's empowerment, economic empowerment perspective, and access to the labor force. You can also look at it more broadly from an economic growth perspective through higher female employment. And of course, there are reasons for the businesses, the employers to join this because you can get positive business outcomes if you are able to offer employer-supported childcare. I'm not sure if we can see the slides. You can move on to the next slide, please. So typically for businesses, the most common benefits that employers report to us and that we have experienced in practice are related to recruitment and retention. It becomes easier for employers to attract and retain both men and women in the workforce. You can also see results in terms of productivity through lower absenteeism rates, through employees that are more focused and motivated. Employers can enjoy enhanced reputation, can become employers of choice, which can come a long way in a competitive market. So there are many, many positives that employers can enjoy. Next slide, please. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you actually provide this support to employees. And there are multiple ways of doing this. Often we think of it in terms of a non-site childcare center, right? What usually first comes to mind is a self-operated, you have a center with little kids in your headquarters or in your branches, but it doesn't have to be just that way, right? So as I mentioned, it can be self-operated, where the employer hires the providers themselves, right? And it can also be operated by a childcare provider who's an expert on this. But employer supported childcare goes beyond this. There are many ways of doing it. One way is to provide care offsite. So it can be near your office, near your branches, near your plants. It can also be close to employees' homes. And usually this is also done in partnerships with others. Again, it can be a childcare provider, it can be a government to a public-private partnership if the conditions are right. And employers can come together and form a consortium where they share responsibilities, they share spots in a common center. Um, there's also the possibility of offering backup or emergency care. And here, typically, the company would have the employees be responsible for the primary child care arrangement. But in case that arrangement falls through, for example, a nanny gets sick or a child gets sick and cannot go to, his or her typical child care center, that's where the emergency care would come in, and it can be home based, it can be center based. There's several ways of doing this, which would help the employee continue to work through this unforeseeable circumstance. Employers can also offer extended care support, meaning that, for example, if employees work late hours or there's shift work or there's weekend work where the typical child care center is not open, they can come in and meet that gap. And finally, there is employee allowances or subsidies. This is where employers would come in with a cash contribution directly to the employee, and the employee would select and choose the child care arrangement that's most convenient. It can just be a financial support, but it can also come with technical assistance in choosing and identifying care that's of good quality. There are also other ways of doing this. Are some of the main ones, but the key thing here that we like to highlight is that whatever you're thinking of offering, whatever you decide to offer, ideally would be based on real needs of employees, their preferences, because you want a good uptake, right? You're spending resources on this, so you wanted this to really make sense. It also, of course, needs to match the resources that you have at hand as a company, but also what is already available at your community. Some communities have good childcare providers that offer good quality services. So perhaps the issue is more one of affordability. Some do not have high quality care, so you would have to come in from where essentially there is a need, right? So we always like to highlight that it's important to do your homework so you're confident in offering a good solution. Next slide, please. I also wanted to briefly talk to you about some of the comments that we get from employers while they're unable to offer care or they're not willing to offer this. And some of counterpoints, right? Cost is usually one of them. Employers sometimes think, oh, this is too costly, it's too much, we're not in a position to offer any support at this moment. Yes, there is a cost, absolutely. There's a cost to anything. But the idea is that you look at it more from an investment perspective, right? Because we will get some return on your investment. It is important to understand what you'll be able to get out of it. It's also doesn't have to be just on the employer's shoulders. Employees typically are willing and are able to share, some of these costs. And of course, each child care choice, just saw in the previous slides, comes with different cost levels, right? So there are ways of going around this. We also hear sometimes that there's just no need, right? This is something that the private sector doesn't need to get involved, or perhaps we don't have, a high number of female employees. So this is something better handled by something else. Well, I think it's important to, maybe critically think about, some of these statements. Perhaps you have a low level of female employee participation because of some challenges that childcare can actually help address, right? And so I think it's really important to assess instead of assuming. There is definitely a global care crisis that's becoming better and better documented as we speak. And you don't just have to provide childcare. There are other family-friendly policies that can go a long way in supporting families, like paid leave, like breastfeeding support, like flexible work arrangements that often is like the top-cited benefit that working parents would love employers to provide. Risk is also something that comes up often. We're talking about little kids. What about accidents, liability? This is all understandable, especially if it's something that you're not very familiar with. So it's important to understand the options. Different options come with different risks. A way of sharing, of mitigating risk is by partnering with others. And something that's really important is a focus on quality. The higher the quality, usually it's associated with lower risk. And finally, some organizations are not at the level yet where there's leadership support for this. So I think this is where we come in, where we hear, if we're from the HR department, from CSR, from wherever you're standing in your organization, the possibility of helping raise awareness, to educate, to have the voices of other business leaders be heard inside your company, like we're going to hear from DBL shortly. Because it can come a long way, right? So our advice usually is to start small. Pilots are great. Measure the results, learn as you go, and you actually start where you are, right? So I think there's something in there for everyone. Last slide, please. So I just wanted to leave you with some resources. You're definitely not alone in this. IFC has put together a series of business case, the case study, how-to guides, guidance on how to do childcare during COVID. We'll be happy to help you out along the way. Thank you so much. I will now pass it on to Mr. Zahed from DBL.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you for enlightening us. And I can begin with the slides. What is there for me? Thank you. So I would like to take you through the audience through the journey of gender equality in childcare at DPL. So we have this on the leadership side. We have female supervisor leadership program, where we have created 104 female supervisors in our company. It's previously those roles were only to the male members, but now it's there. And there was a program called Women's and Factory Initiative from Care Bangladesh, which was implemented by Care Bangladesh, and it was a Walmart program. So the good part of this program is that in one factory, 2,500 people working. It's not only the females getting leadership and soft skills training, but also the male workers and male employees coming on board, including all the manager at the senior level. Because, the realization is that if men are not on board, then, real women empowerment and women leadership will not flourish. Then GEAR project is another very good project of better work, which is jointly promoted by ILO and IFC. So this is gender equity and returns. So here the focus is purely on the soft skills training. And the best part is that, on the leadership side, where we have the traditional male leaders, they have not gone through any formal trainings. They have been on the production floor as leaders only. The main qualification has been how voiceful they are, how loud they are in their voice. It's nothing to do with their abilities in terms of team management and other things. But through this GEAR project, it's more focused on the soft skill when you're getting people getting trained on like stress management, anger management. So these are something which happens on the floor, that how a person is able to control his anger or control in terms of his stress also. So these were on the leadership side. Beside, there is a project called Shobala project, which we worked. It was jointly brought in by CSR Center in Bangladesh. And Amfori is actually the largest trade body in Europe. They have members across 45 countries, and their combined trade value of this organization is more than $1 trillion. So here we acted as a knowledge partner for this project because of our experience in the female supervisor leadership program. So it was all about pulling in, creating awareness and showing the benefits, demonstrating the benefits of female supervisor leadership program in the supply chain of Amfori, another Amfori organizations, their members, supply chain partners. And the fair price shop, what we have is that this is an outcome of 2008 due to the global financial problem crisis which arose there. What we did is that in 2008, voluntarily DBL, increased the salary of its employees by 15%. With effect from 1st July 2008, all employees got an increment, of 15% to accommodate their inflation cost. So it was very good at DBL factory. But what happened is that the surrounding factories started demanding from their employees, and then it created a chaos. So, we were called by our association and advised that, we should not do whatever we want to, rather we should think about the impacts on the other factory. So then we came up with this innovation of, why not the collective power. Around in 2008, we had about 8,000 employees. That why don't we have a fair price shop where, if 8,000 people, they use at least minimum 8,000 soap. They need so much of sugar, so much of this thing. So today what is happening is that we have 7 fair price shop across our organizations. And in terms of combined sales value, which is almost $1.2 million, and the workers actually are getting products on subsidized. The entire operation cost is borne by DBL, and the it's on credit, and at the same time they are getting a saving of almost about 15%. So this is adjusted at the end of the day with and end of the month with the salary. Then we work with Fulki, a local NGO, which was support project called SRHR, Sexual Reproductive Health Rights, Nirapod, supported by the Embassy of the Netherlands. We have free medical facilities. We created job opportunities for female security guards previously, which did not exist. And of course, we have partnered with the government of Bangladesh in providing family planning services to our female workforce. So these have been some of the efforts what we have gone through. And of course, there is a training going on with H&M, which is gender-based anti-violence and harassment. Next slide, please. So the things that what we have found is that investing in childcare has helped us a lot, in the sense because there are like a women workforce who at a certain time, after having financial affordability, they go for family. And we have found in the past that we have been losing uh, skills of senior people, in the organizations. So this is a good strategy that, if we can provide an enabling environment where they can keep the child and the children are looked after, then, they are not concerned that output and dedication is more in the work, and at the same time not losing any talent in that, they go back, maybe again, they join back to work after 2 years or something. So this case does not happen. So they are able to continue in their job, having, daycare facilities within the factory complex itself. And what DBL firmly believes is that, if we take care of our employees will take care of our organization. And most importantly, it's all about, that how we are able to create a working environment, enabling environment for the women workforce. What we have been doing in the organization is that, we have been creating a lifestyle, it's offering a lifestyle to female workforce in DBL. Next slide, please. So in terms of our engagement with childcare, it was first set up in 2005. And then later on in 2006, we started providing the maternity benefits. In 2007, newborn gift hampers were provided to the parents for their children. Like it had, Johnson powder, baby powder, and all those things, including feeder bottle, cleaner, and other things. And also, it's a gift hamper for every newborn, what we provide. And Mothers at Work had been a very good addition to our through UNICEF program. This had been a very good inclusion in our journey on this childcare, because through this, the awareness and importance of the breastfeeding came in, and also the first 1,000 days for the children from conceived to the birth, the early childhood development. This is the time, where the development of the entire, the mind setting of the child, and good for mother, good for child, this thing. And of course, the Better Business for Children, what we signed a partnership with them, with UNICEF. This has created another a good thing is that, in around our factory, they have UNICEF has set up 65 non-formal primary schools. So it is a school, it's a one-room school where there are about 30 children, students who come in, small kids, up till they study there under one teacher till grade 5. And then after grade 5, they go to the formal school. So what happens is it operates in 2 shifts, one from 9 to 12 in the morning, and then another from 2 to 5. So what happened, the children who are left behind by the parents who are working at the factory, those children are not loitering around in the community or something, or they're not working in any place, rather they are engaged in their block. So this is another type of a childcare, it's where they're getting education at the same time, and they're in a secure environment. Next slide, please. So in terms of the ROI, what we have seen is that, before providing maternity leave, our this particular thing, retention rate, after maternity, the female workers who were joining, female employees, it was just 30.3%, and it has almost doubled. It has come now to 62.6%. And in terms of the female employee turnover, it's down to 2%, what it was 6%. And overall absenteeism for the female workforce, it has come down from 8% to 3.6%. Next slide. So at Deeble, it's all about crafting happiness for all our stakeholders. And the child you see in the screen is from one of our daycare center. We can fake our smile, but a child can never fake a smile. So this is what it reflects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zahed. It's incredible, so inspiring to see that, like such a comprehensive, like robust set of policies covering, the not the whole life span of children, but like definitely the first years and, different employees profile in mind. I'll just get us started with one question as, additional questions are coming in through the chat. If you could tell us, I mean, you hinted at this a little bit. What were the main reasons why DBL started offering, the initial programs, and whether you faced any challenges, right? When you're trying to do something innovative and ambitious, there's offered some challenges, and how have you addressed them?
Thank you, Anita. So first and foremost, it's all in the media, everything, in Bangladesh, if you want to see the history prior to 2012, there have been a lot of unrest happening in the industry. And when unrest is happening in the industry, the factories which are good, they are the targeted ones. Because, that's why, because the best of the brands work in those good factories, and then it can go spread out into the media. So our factory has always been vulnerable to this particular thing. In spite of doing all the good, we are getting targeted. So through one of the review, once it happened, we realized the CCTV camera that the disturbance which is happening is coming from the outside people, and there are some people who are joining, but it has been 100% male employees. There was not a single female who was participating onto that. So around that time, we had only 25% female employees in our garment factory. So we realized that, we need to move into the percentage, and we started, having more and more female coming into our organizations, that as a strategy, we moved in that direction. So then, the value addition came in when we joined this program of Walmart, which was implemented by CARE, which is called the Women in Factory Initiative. So here that, program, what happened through this program, 100% of one factory in a complex, we have 3 factories in one of the complex garments factory. So here, 100% of the 2,500 employees were trained, including the general manager. They were trained on this in terms of importance of, women empowerment. So again, after 2012, there was an unrest which happened. And what it was found that whenever unrest is happening, then workers from all the floors, they just start coming down from all the buildings. So workers did come down from all the factories, but for this particular building where the women empowerment training had gone, not a single worker came down because they thought that we are not concerned about it. So this again give the strength to the production floor management, that, yes, investing on the woman is really very good for us. So those were the journeys. And then again, we thought, what can more be done? Because, through this Wi-Fi program, there were 85 leaders who went for the advanced learning, female. So from them, what we did, we started then focusing on creating female supervisors, because end of the day, if our sewing lines are managed by the male operators, why not, and more dominated by the female? So let's have female supervisors. So we had brought in an in-house training program, and in 2 months' time, we are promoting them after their soft skill training as well as the technical skill training. We promote them as supervisors. Their salary gets almost double, almost what they were working as an operator. But yes, as you rightly said about the challenge was that, even these supervisors, they were, having problems in the sense, like, she has got promoted as supervisor, but the husband may be working in the same factory at a lower designation, or she is working in another factory. So then what happened, it creates a psychological problem in the community, in the society. So, then what happens, some of the female supervisors, they left the job, they've gone with the husband who has moved into other factory. That's also one of the reasons, if husband gets a better job in another factory, so the wife also moves around with that. So this was challenge. And even the challenge came in also of they were saying that we are very means it's too much of workload and everything, because because previously as an operator focus on one side, but now more on taking the leadership of the entire line. So then we convinced them that today, if you have kids, when they grow up, they get married, then whom you're going to give them in marriage? Definitely among your peers. So you're a sewing operator and you'll give a child in marriage into a sewing operator. But what if you move as a supervisor, as a manager, then what happens? So these are the things where personal counseling we did, and we have been almost successful with it. and it's moving in a good direction. For women workforce in DPL, we have this vision that we want to be the most attractive employer in this industry in Bangladesh. And to do that, we are offering a lifestyle. It's not a job which comes into DPL for the women focus, rather it's a lifestyle which they come like fair price shop, family planning, then medical services, education, children education support and all. It's purely business case and good for society, I'll say. Not only business, good for
Yeah,
society.
it's a good
Because
pairing. It's the
yeah,
right thing, and it makes sense. It makes business sense. It's wonderful when we can pair the two. I'll hand it over to Lena for the Q&A.
Thank you, Anita. So we have a question from the audience. I think this would be directed to you, Anita, but please feel free to step in, Zahid. What changes have you seen regarding childcare with companies since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic? Very apt question, and unfortunately still very relevant.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. Yeah, so I think there's like different stages, right, in the pandemic. When it first started, and the child care centers started closing, there's a lot of uncertainty, no really, well understood protocols. So there's a really big disruption, right? Companies that offer childcare very quickly had to close them. So a lot of them, the ones that did this in partnership with other with providers, try to move things online to the great extent possible. It's hard to keep little kids engaged. So, depending on the location, they distributed care packages for parents. They provide some guidance to parents so they could still keep the kids occupied, where parents sometimes were able to work. And eventually things started opening up. But again, for example, we are working with a client company in Mexico today. They're still not back to the same level pre-pandemic, right? So there's a lot of work in getting people to understand this is safe. We have protocols. Some companies reacted differently. One company in Pakistan, for example, that we worked with, they started opening up for front care workers, right? They were in a location where they're in a position where they decided, in partnership with their provider, to open it to healthcare workers to bring their kids in. That was like right in the beginning of the pandemic. So that was incredibly helpful, right? So slowly, I mean, IFC has put together a short guide on, some of the things that employers need to think about if they are offering childcare, or if they are not offering things that can be useful. So different approaches there.
Very interesting, thank you, and very smart pivot for the Pakistani company. That's wonderful. Zahid, I think we will hear final thoughts from you on this question, as we have only 2.5 minutes left on the session.
yes. So for us, actually, what was a big worry that, when the COVID came in, that, garments industry is heavily populated, so much labor intensive. So there's very high risk and all. But once after a month when the factory was closed and it opened up, it was very surprising to see that, the mass workers, they are in one complex, like about 20 out of 25,000 workers in the garments sector of ours, there were hardly about just 5 to 6 cases of COVID infection. Whereas when we compared the same with our management, the management staff, maybe out of about 2,000, the infection would have been more than 200 to 300. So here what we found is that, the immune system of the workers were very strong because they have been living in an environment where the immune system had become very strong. So this did not affect us much. And in terms of the childcare was still in operation for us because, it's the workers, they wanted to continue the day-to-day. And since, we have a provision for feeding, breastfeeding, and also that is also very good for the child and good for the mother also, So we did not see anything of wrongdoing happening. Everything was good. Thank you.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. Would you guys like to offer any final comments to the audience? Maybe a call to action on any prospect companies that are thinking about embarking on this journey?
Sure, absolutely. Very quickly, as we don't have a lot of time left. I think the message I'd love to leave you with is that it's feasible, it's possible. Doesn't matter the size of your organization. We just heard from DBL, which is a large, company, but also small companies. There's something you can do, right? The resources out there. It's a matter of finding the solution that fits your resources and that's of interest to your employees. And I think the business case has been well documented. So I think it's important to start where you are with what you have.
From my side, it's, respecting women, respecting girls, not creating any violence. A house where there is respect for women, for girls, will always prosper, will always a blessing. If husbands do torture women, I mean wife, then he'll never prosper in life. So personal experience, this is all about that. Respect women; they are the source of everything, all your happiness. Thank you.
Couldn't agree more. What a way to end the session. Thank you so much, Zahid. And thank you,
Thank
Anita,
you.
for all of your insightful comments. Really appreciate your participation with us here today.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Thank you.